God, half the city must be criminals.
Sounds about right.
Hello there, and welcome to another Bad Movie Review. Today I'd like to discuss a movie I just finished watching called Alley Cat. Straight out of 1984, this 82 minutes of wonder will shock and amaze you. Not because it's rated R, no, but because it's a story of love, adventure, and revenge. You see, when Billy, or Belinda is, I think her real name is, as Billy interrupts some thugs trying to steal the tires off her car, she sets terrible events into motion. See, the gang that runs this tire thieving operation, which is kind of sad, seeks revenge by attacking her grandparents, and they end up killing her grandmother. Now, Billy must use her martial arts mastery to exact some justice. And this means, getting thrown in jail for carrying a concealed weapon at one point. That's kind of the whole plot of the movie. Not the jail thing, but the whole, vengeance on this crappy gang. Now, in this movie, the plot is pretty good, actually, but it's not well executed. The movie is very dark, so the lighting's pretty terrible. I don't know if that's a budget issue or just not knowing what we're doing kind of issue. The acting is not that spectacular. A lot of B-movie acting going on, sometimes subpar from that even. There were some standouts, though. Karin, who plays Billy, not a bad actress, not a great actress. Definitely could have made a career in Hallmark movies nowadays, or Lifetime. Those made-for-TV movies. She's not terrible. She's good looking. She probably could have had a really good career, but she seems to have just dropped off the face of the earth. Michael Wayne, who plays the Scarface bad guy, he actually did a pretty good job. And Britt Helfer, who plays the hooker with good taste in art. If you look at when they show her apartment, she has some Alphonse Mucha print hanging on the wall and some other decent art, which is kind of surprising because usually you don't think of high-class art at a hooker's abode. So there's some depth to that character that really went kind of unclarified and not really delved into, which I felt was probably a ripoff. But that's okay, because it's the 80s. Because it is an 80s movie, somebody has to whip out a butterfly knife and fling it around a little bit, which was fun. It's always a little thing I like to notice in those 80s action movies. The soundtrack was very weird, had a real 70s feel to it, almost like a 70s exploitation film, but without a lot of the exploitation elements, which I didn't much care for. The soundtrack was just distracting. A lot of the fight scenes were really weak, mostly due to poor camera angles and poor cut scenes. So the editing, I don't know if a better editor would have saved any of this, because it was just filmed poorly. And again, I don't want to point fingers at anyone on this, but it really needed more than just a static shot. They should add some angles in there, but I don't know why they didn't do that. Like I said, the core plot wasn't bad, but revisions were needed, and it really, really suffered from horrible dialogue. Some of the things people said were just asinine, just horrible. And there's some bad overdubbing, where people are, they've added some dialogue in post because somebody wasn't in frame. And it was obviously done later because it's either louder or quieter, usually louder, than the dialogue somebody else is giving or what's going on around them. And there's a silence there. So that didn't really work out. And the movie is a little slow in the middle, which I think is part of the script issue. It could have been tightened up a little bit for better pacing, because the action scenes keep it moving, but there's this lull in the middle that, and the movie's only an hour and a half, not even. So they really could have just condensed some of that they had to work in the stupid romance angle for no reason. And I think they could have cut that out and just made it more of a straight up action film. But because it's a female protagonist, I think they felt it needed some kind of weird romance angle. And I think that hurt the film more. And it didn't do anything for women empowerment. And I think instead of calling the movie Alley Cat, it should have been the Tracksuit Vigilante, because every time she goes out to fight crime, she's wearing this stupid tracksuit. And it's very 80s. I mean, that was the style then, but oh man, it's pretty horrific to look back at that. But you do see about 8 boob shots, a couple of them in the shower scene, and there's about 4 butt shots, and I counted 3 brief bush shots. So if you're looking for a movie to be distracted with some crappy martial arts and a lot of nudity, you're probably going to do okay with this one. And almost none of that nudity was needed at all. It wasn't relevant to the scene. It could have all been cut out and just totally glossed over. But they needed a reason to keep you interested, because this movie is pretty tepid. As far as cheese factor goes, it ranks real high on the cheese factor. So it's quality martial arts cheese. Almost to the point that I would say that it qualified as an Asian kung fu movie. That level of cheese, like the sound effects were cheesy. I'm pretty sure that during one of the fights, there's a male stuntman in a dress posing as Billy when he flips over a guy with a pool cue or stick of some sort. So yeah, it was rated R mostly, I think, because of the nudity and some of the language. But they probably could have cleaned this up to be like a PG action film, and it probably would have done better. It's no Chuck Norris film, that's for sure. But I think Karin Manny could have really become like a Cynthia Rothrock type, where she could have kept doing like some martial arts films. She wasn't terribly great at it. Her form was a little off, if you want me to be specific. But she wasn't unappealing. Like, she's an okay actress, and she was okay to look at. Standard B-movie stuff. So, yeah, she probably could have had a career doing crappy martial arts films, but it just never worked out, I guess. So, yeah, for the cheese factor alone, I would give this a go. But if you're looking for an actual decent martial arts film from the 80s, this is not it. It's a good cheese film for martial arts and just general vigilante action. But I wouldn't rank it as a quality film. Otherwise, I probably won't be reviewing it. And it's definitely not Chuck Norris caliber, but it had potential to be one of those movies and just fell straight into the cheese factory. So if you're looking for a cheesy martial arts movie to rag on or crack wise with, this might be a good movie for you. Plus the nudity's a big bonus. Yeah, it even had like the prison shower scene, so it needed that. But yeah, this was just a goofy movie that was just a weird, thrown together mess. Not a horrible movie, but not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination. The B-movie elements really overwhelmed it and made it into a solid wheel of cheese. So for your cheesy movie endeavors, this is a good one. It is kind of hard to find on DVD. I got lucky and found a copy on eBay, and it turned out I already owned a copy. So that happened. But I have seen it on VHS. And that's pretty hard to find too. But if you could track this one down and you're a big B-movie fan, this might be worth some time because it is pretty amusing for all the wrong reasons. But like I said, there are some decent actors in it, but they're all surrounded by a whole bunch of really bad actors and really mediocre plot line that could have been something better. So it had potential, and maybe if it was remade with a more modern audience in mind, it could go somewhere, but that'll probably never happen. But I think you'll be able to track this one down if you look hard enough. Don't spend more than like $20 if you can. Because as amusing as it wasn't that amusing. So, yeah, if you find it cheap, pick it up. It's a good cheese fest. Beyond that, probably a swing and a miss for any martial arts fans out there. And that'll wrap it up for this episode of Bad Movie Review. And be sure and listen to some of the other reviews. And, keep an eye out. We'll have another one up soon. Thanks for listening.